Good morning and welcome to the Sage Q&A session for Auto Enrolment. I'm here with the Pensions Regulator. I'm Robert Lovell and I'm the Deputy Editor of Accounting Web. So over to you, Neil.
So I'm Neil Estamont. I head up a small team within the Pensions Regulator whose sole job is to go out and engage with providers of pension schemes, software and advisors including accountants and IFAs.
And I'm Rebecca Woodley from the same team as Neil, and my specific remit within the team is to head up our comms strategy.
Thank you. Rebecca, I mean, how do you view the accountant's role within auto enrolments?
I mean, our research shows that the accountants are essential in their role in terms of the success of automatic enrolment. We know that the majority of employers, although they don't need to get advice, plan to use a professional to help them. And we know that 85% of the medium-sized employers, 75% of the small employers and 65% of micros have already said they want to use an accountant and that's who they're going to go to. And our research has also said that at the moment accountants, about a third of them are happy to get involved with their clients. A third of them have said, actually, I don't really think I will get involved. But we know, of course, that the majority of people will be going to them as a first port of call. And so I suppose the question is, accountants will need to have a think about what it is their proposition is and what they're going to say when their clients say, what are you going to do to help me? So we think their role is pivotal.
Great. And over to you, Neil. What sort of strategies would you suggest accountants adopt to make auto enrolment a sort of smooth and simple process for both their practice and clients?
Well, it's not really for the regulator to necessarily suggest how accountants develop business models to actually support their customers in automatic enrolment. So it's going to be quite, if you like, a mixed bag and quite a variety of different approaches that they could take. But I think the starting point is that if a client does come to them and say, well, we need some help in automatic enrolment, then it's quite likely they don't know very much more. Perhaps they've had a letter from us that has finally stimulated them into actually doing something. So let's assume now that the accountant knows what range of services he's going to offer, possibly none, possibly it may be just simply signposting them to help from elsewhere. But make sure that both the employer and the accountant knows the staging date, which is the date the duty starts for that employer. And then depending on the business model they're going to use, you can take it from there. And it may well be, we've certainly seen partnerships, if you like, between IFAs and accountants where they're referring business to each other. Alternatively, it may be that the accountant has a payroll service as part of their portfolio, and it might be that either this customer already has payroll services from them or might want payroll services, but that will of course depend on whether the accountant intends to support automatic enrolment as part of that payroll bureau service.
And what kind of response have you had so far to obligations for auto enrolment? I guess it's one for Rebecca.
We've been really, really pleased with the response so far. 99.9% of everyone that's staged to date has done so compliantly, which is an excellent result. And these are 11,000 employers now that have gone through staging, and 3.6 million workers have been automatically enrolled. Great.
And what sort of learnings would you like to share that the early stages, the larger businesses that accountants with small business clients can learn from what they've been through?
Yeah, I mean, one of the key points that Neil made previously was it's really, really important to know your staging date. And you will be getting a letter from the Pensions Regulator, but of course it's important that that letter goes to the right person, so we strongly suggest that you provide us with the contact in your organisation that's going to be dealing with the automatic enrolment duties. And plan ahead. Now, I'm sure accountants will be aware that their clients may not be coming to them 12 months ahead of the staging date, but in an ideal world, the planning early is really, really important. So if the accountant is in a position, because they have the PAYE reference number, to put that into the pension regulator's website and go onto our staging date tool, they can find out the staging dates for their clients and actually proactively get in touch with them and ask them if they're aware when their staging date is. Moving on from that, within about 6 months of the staging date, we highly recommend that you know which pension scheme you're planning to use and the software you're going to use to do that, because experience shows that employers often know what it is they've got to do, but they don't actually really know how they're going to do it. And they make assumptions that the payroll software and the pension provider, when the data goes between the two, that it's just a matter of pressing a send button and that information will pass with ease between them. And so we really recommend that they cleanse their data, the employers cleanse their data, make sure it's accurate, make sure the addresses are right, the dates of birth are right, make sure that the format matches what the pension provider wants, and do some testing beforehand. So that's some key messages from us. I don't know, Neil, if you've got any more than that.
Well, I guess the backdrop to all of this is that whilst the first smaller micros will be going in June 2015, and quite a few thousand of them, but in January 2016 onwards, it really kicks off, because we're talking about hundreds of thousands of employers per quarter. So if you leave it to the last moment, and there are some employers who've even gone beyond their staging date, they've used postponement. Postponement doesn't change the staging date, but it does allow you to postpone the assessment duties, but you still should be handling any request to opt in. So you really should still have a pension scheme and the processes in place, and you need to issue the postponement letters. But the point is that if you don't really do anything until the last moment, you're not even necessarily going to get your accountant to be able to respond and say, okay, I can help you, because they're going to be so busy potentially handling all the other customers who are wanting to stage at the same time.
And would you say, Neil, that there are commercial opportunities? What are commercial opportunities realistic for auto enrolment, would you say?
Well, we've spoken to quite a few accountants and accountancy firms, as well as we've done some sort of formal research with them. And the response that we get at the moment is very diverse. We've got some businesses who feel that this isn't for them, so what they're intending to do is probably help the client find what the staging date is, and then point them in the direction of someone else who can help do the rest, and that would be what they're going to do. And then you've got the other side, the other extreme, where you've got an accountancy firm who already got a payroll bureau service, and they've looked at the range of services that they offer, and they think there's an opportunity to get more customers. And it may be that really what they're interested in is the traditional accountancy type services that they offer. But this is a method of actually gaining new customers. If they can have a solution that in itself is fairly cost effective and automated and doesn't require too much time, then they can build that into their business processes, and it could be a key market opportunity for them. So I think one of the key tasks, I think, for accountants is, first of all, to understand automatic enrolment in enough depth to be able to make some sort of commercial judgment about what to do and how this would work or wouldn't work within their own business. And then if they do decide that they're going to do something, is to decide, well, what do they do? They could, for example, simply provide, if you like, some advice. They could talk to them about the range of software products that are available in the market, ask them if they're intending to use payroll, whether their own payroll that they've got today is capable, or whether they should be looking to get a new payroll system that handles automatic enrolment. And the various functions, these workers will need to be assessed potentially every pay cycle, starting from their staging date onwards. It's not a one-off, let's just do it on the staging date. It's for life, not just for Christmas. So you've got to assess your workers, decide through that assessment process, or the software will decide who is eligible and who needs to be enrolled, send that information across to the pension provider, and by the way, you're also sending the data to the pension provider every pay cycle anyway, in order to pass on the data regarding the contributions. So even if you aren't doing any assessments because all of your workers are already in a pension scheme, you still need to communicate every pay cycle with the pension provider. And there's also a requirement to issue letters, and so the communications to workers are statutory letters. So sounds all very complicated, and you could argue that underneath the hood it is. But what we're hoping is that industry builds simple solutions where once you've configured it, if you have enough knowledge to configure it, that after that, what goes on under the hood doesn't matter too much. It becomes automated.